Hey YouTube, welcome to RVDaydream, and it's kind of normal today. Heidi's at work. Sorry about that rant video that I did the other day. I wanted to talk about it, and it's funny because apparently they're getting ready to go to curbside only. They're not allowing customers in the store. You know, they should have been doing that a while ago. And I don't even know, listen to this. Yeah. Everybody, all the truck drivers out there, wow, those engine brakes, they're needed. That guy's empty. He's driving like a sports car, and it says no engine brake. It's not needed. All right, so I ran it again. Go figure that out. I got a lot of rants.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
It's a beautiful day out, but windy, yeah. Breezy, yeah. The grass needs mowed, yeah. Now the problem is we've got a lot of rain and moisture that's been going on. And yesterday when I walked around the back of the garage, it was not good. It was very, very, very wet back there. It's still got to be done though. One of those things. So I'm walking out to the camper. I've had the slide out now for I don't know how long. Look how filthy the truck is. I don't know if you guys see this on camera or not. Man, it's just filthy. And of course, we got the birds coming back again this year. I don't know why they like the crap on this. I love it. Every time I go to the back of the truck, I reach in and I feel water. So good to know that the cap isn't failing me from keeping me in a bad mood. You know, I'm hoping to mow the lawn. I got to change oil on the mower. I haven't done that. Well, actually, since I bought it, I've never changed the filter. I'd like to shoot some footage for you guys though of me mowing with this new camera. Hopefully that's what's on here. All right, let me get this done. I'll tell you, the truck has been sitting so long that this is funny, that my forward pass system is not connected to it. To save battery power, it shut off the forward pass system. So it says all I got to do is just start my vehicle and it will reconnect to forward pass. Yeah, bird shitting on my door handle. I'm telling you what, this time of year I don't get it at all. All right, let's go ahead and put this on here. Ooh, the battery was low. Oh, I could tell by the way it just cranked. That's odd. Oh my. Okay, so what am I doing back here? I'm checking. Look at this towel that's up here. Why would there be a towel up here, you ask? Yeah, because this rear glass was leaking. Not the glass, but the third brake light. So let me see if it's still wet at all. Nothing there. Yeah, GPS connected. Yeah, that's kind of odd. Yeah. The reason it's probably not leaking right now is because I did this repair. That's right, this Ford's got duct tape on it. For all you Chevy Dodge guys, I got some duct tape fixing my brand new truck. It's until I can get it in. See, the problem is the cap is in the way, so you know they can't remove it to do the warranty work. All right, so I've got all this garage. What's that mean? It means I'm going to do an oil change, I believe. I believe I can fly. Yeah, I got to do an oil change, not on the truck. That comes later. I still have plenty of time on that. But on the mower. And again, I think I might be mowing today. So, oh, we got some flowers popping up over there. Let's go look at them. Oh, look, a squirrel. I'm kidding. No squirrel. Yeah, this is nice. Definitely a sign of spring. I'll have to pull this air conditioning cover off at some point. I don't know what kind of flowers these are. You guys can tell me. We used to have, oh, this was covered in all kinds of flowers and plants. When we first moved in, Heidi had tomato plants here, like the first year we lived here. And then we had a garden that was back there. Then we put a garden out here that was real nice. And then we had another big, huge raised, not raised garden, but regular garden back there. behind the garage. And then it flooded out a few times. And then we had a raised garden, and we had a raised garden here, and now we don't have any. And as far as the flowers, this whole area used to all be covered in flowers, but we just don't do that anymore. And then these always, you know, pop up every year. They're annular. And then we have alongside of the garage, let's go look at that since we're looking at all this foliage. On the side of the garage we have flowers that pop up. Well, don't look like they've come up quite yet. These come out maybe twice or 3 times a year. You can see those right there. These real tall skinny flowers come out of these, and then they look really crappy, and I cut them all down, and then they pop all back up again. They bloom a couple times during season. This will have to get out of the way in case I do get this thing to the point. Oh, my hands aren't sticky enough to pick up the brick. That's odd. Oh, why can't I pick that up? It's odd. It's like the glazing was too much. All right, back to what I was doing. I'll tell you, if this breeze would just drop down a little bit, it'd be so much nicer out here. Might put on a jacket with a hood because north winds are a little cold still. So this is kind of funny. I don't know if any of these lights work. One of them does. I never had to get this tractor out this year. That's odd. It's very, very odd. So I did not plow the driveway once this entire winter. That is like a landmark thing. There was one day I could have went out and plowed potentially, but it just wasn't that bad. And with this new gravel, I didn't want to dick with it. But isn't that amazing that, wow. It's definitely, there's something, you know, about this whole last winter that was weird. But I mean, even last winter, you know, prior to this one, I should say, 2018, 2019 winter, I don't remember plowing but just a couple times. I don't know. So this thing's been sitting. Of course, I got a battery maintainer on it, just like this one. And hopefully that's done its job. What I'm going to do is fire this baby up and take it into the garage and change the oil. I told her, just grab a cheap oil filter. I mean, you don't need any high dollar oil filters for these little small engines. You know, these filters don't do the job anyways, really. It's just a peace of mind thing. I'm sure they do some level of cleaning, but this kind of reminds me of some of these Zerk fittings that they put on. And a Zerk fitting, I don't know if you guys know, it's a grease fitting. So you can grease stuff. They do that on some wheels of cheaper mowers, and they do it on blades of cheaper mowers. And the funny part is the bearing is sealed. It's a sealed bearing. So even though you squirt grease in there, not on this one, not on this one and not on this old one, but on the cheaper like MTDs that I've had in the past, yeah, they're just regular sealed bearings, and they don't. The grease doesn't get to the bearing part of things. It's to make the customer feel good that it has grease fittings on it, because there was a large amount of people that were old school that had mowers like this that were trying to buy new mowers, and they said, where's all the grease fittings? And whenever the salesman was saying, well, there is no grease fittings on this, the bearings are sealed. They're like, oh no, I want one that I can grease the bearings myself. So that's why they included those grease fittings. A lot of people don't know that. It's hilarious that the market does that. I'll tell you another story. Of course, I got 1,000 stories. Whenever I worked for a lawn and garden company, working on small engines, I remember clearly when they went on a Briggs engine. This is a Briggs & Stratton. This is a Vanguard. This is a very good engine. If you guys have a chance to buy anything and you're concerned about what this engine is, Briggs & Stratton Vanguard's very good. This is a step up from the normal Briggs & Strattons that you would find out there that are V-twins. It has a better rocker system. There's just lots of stuff in there that's much better. So anyways, whenever they went from a 12 horse to a 13 horse the engine, this was an old L-head engine. It's the old style engines. Not like this. This is a Tecumseh. But what you would see on a lot of mowers, that it's kind of got a square front on it and then the blower housing. It's a single cylinder, and it doesn't have a valve cover on the front. It's just flat. Your spark plug goes right into the fend area with no, like I said, no valve cover involved. I had asked the Briggs & Stratton representative, I said, what's the deal? I said, whenever you go from 12 horsepower to 13 horsepower, what do you guys do? Do you change the cam on that? Do you make the displacement a little bit bigger? Do you raise the compression? What do you do? Do you open the jet up on the carburetor? And he said, no. He says, we put a new sticker on it. And I said, what do you mean a new sticker? He goes, yeah, instead of a 12-horse sticker, we put a 13-horse sticker. I said, what? He goes, yeah, this stuff's not regulated. He said, this engine, he says, it makes 12 horsepower. He said, hell, it probably makes 15 horsepower at about 5,000 RPMs. He says, but it won't last very long. He says, they're operating at about 3,200 RPMs. That's really all 32 to 3,600 RPMs is all they want to operate at. He said, so whenever we rate them for even 12 horsepower, he says that's at like 4,000, 4,500 RPM. He says, which your mower will never reach as long as it's set up correctly. He said the reason that we went to a 13 horsepower sticker is because Tecumseh came out with a 12.5 horse. It's amazing. It was unregulated. So now when you go into the stores, the retail stores, you'll look at engines and there are no horsepower ratings. They're all torque ratings now. And even that, it's so shady. The whole thing's shady. I will tell you this, though. I know for an absolute fact, some of those engines that are producing 18 horsepower, that are single cylinders, that kind of thing, this 10 horsepower, this real 10 horsepower, will outdo it all day long. This is a cast iron engine. It's powerful. It's very powerful. There's a big difference between real 10 horse coming from a real engine that was built back in the day versus some of these new ones. Now, this one here, I don't know what the real horsepower is that comes out of it. They say 16. I know they make these all the way up to like 27 or 30 horsepower, and they essentially look the same. But it does a good job. It's the fact that it's a twin cylinder. That's a big thing with me. Twin cylinders make a huge difference whenever, like mowing and that. It's just more dependable. You can feel it. It's kind of like the difference of having a little tiny displacement 4-cylinder in your car or opting up and getting a V6. You can just tell the difference immediately. Not that one engine's better than the other. They both have their strong points. It's just, for me, the peace of mind, the way that it sounds, the feel. Of course, it's most likely going to have more torque because it's got more cylinders to help it along, whenever it's really being demanded on. It's a personal preference thing. Well, how did we get into lawn and garden? This sounds like my other channel. So I changed my mind. I'm going to do the oil change out here. And the reason is because, first of all, I don't need the garage. I can do it out here. There was a time I had so many mowers that I had to work in out here on mowers too, believe it or not. But there's two schools of thought on this, and I'll tell you my thinking on it. You can change the oil when it's hot, relatively hot. Don't burn yourselves. And people say that the reason that you do that, and I agree with this to some extent, is because the contaminants are circulating in that hot oil. They've been stirred up by the engine running, and all that stirring up has suspended them inside the oil, and of course the oil filter is going to trap a lot of that. And then you can drain it out and the contaminants will come out with it. Then there's other people that say that when the oil is cold, all the contaminants are down in the area that they need to be. They've already been loosened up and they've all gathered at the bottom of the oil pan. And why stir that up and put them in the top of the engine or other places of the engine that may not get all the oil out, because now the entire engine is bathed in that oil. Well, I've always liked knowing that whenever I do an oil change, that I'm getting out all the oil, that I'm getting out as much oil as I possibly can. Although whenever I use this, that kind of defeats the purpose to some extent. This is an oil extractor. If you're a small engine guy or you do small engine work off to the side, buy one of these. I've shot a video on this in the past on my other channel. Go check it out. This thing works unbelievable. It's very reliable. Zero maintenance, year after year after year. When I worked in a shop, this exact same brand, I went through thousands of mowers and never had one problem with it. It's just a good brand. Anyways, maybe I'll try to put the link down below for this if I can remember. If not, send me a comment and say, hey, I want to see what that thing is. And I'll try to include it then. But whenever you use it, there's only so much out of the bottom of the sump that you'll get with this vacuum. It does a pretty good job, though. It gets a lot more than you think. Now, of course, there's a drain tube. You know, you can open the drain tube and drain out the oil, but that don't always get it all out either, because even though it's at the bottom of the sump, the outlet for all that oil, there is a little bit of a lip there, and it has to be, because the casting has to accommodate the threads of the pipe or the tube that's being inserted and permanently mounted in the sump to allow the oil to come out, and that causes a little bit of a ridge to where the oil doesn't all come out. So I don't mind if I can get a large amount out when it's cold. I do it when it's cold. I like to do it when it's cold. Not only that, this has been sitting since last, November? Yeah, maybe even October, but early November for sure. And all the oil is definitely down in the sump at this point. So much so that even the oil that was in the filter has drained out to some extent and drained back into the sump. So I'm going to change it out here without starting it. Now I could push this over to the garage and do the same thing, but nah. And I don't know if this little oil filter wrench, I can't remember if this works for these small filters or not. I'll have to see, but let me get at it here. Boy, this oil is thick. You can tell I got a lot of vacuum buildup in this thing, and it's pulling it hard. But it does a good job. And you don't have to pump it the whole time. You just get vacuum buildup inside the canister, and it'll draw. It continues to draw. It like I said, it's a unique piece of equipment. It's a Pela, P-E-L-A is the brand. I just remembered. Holds about 7 quarts of oil in it. Does, like I said, does a really good job. I know this is turning out to be an infomercial for this thing, but again, from a small engine mechanic that worked on thousands and thousands of engines, this is one tool that I'm almost afraid to get rid of. I just have to buy another one in the future. Of course, they still make them. Hell, they make rebuild kits for this, you know, if anything goes bad, but I've never had to do that, even in the shop that I was at. You know, before I even got there, there was other mechanics, you know, that were using it, and it just kept on going. Yeah, there's definitely some cold oil in here that's being extracted. Now, of course, if the oil was real hot, it'd come flying out. I've actually burned my hands on the tube because the oil's been so hot that I'm pulling out. I've done power steering fluid. I've done, when I was doing my gearbox on my old truck, and the gearbox on the truck before that. Reservoir, you know, power steering pump reservoirs, I've removed that. I've used it for brake fluid. You're not supposed to. But what I do is I use it on brake fluid, then I quickly rinse it out. I don't know if you can hear it. It's starting to suck air now. Of course, this truck, its engine braking down the hill, makes it where he can't hardly hear anything. You know why he's engine braking? Because he feels like it. You don't have to. He just wants to. Oh, my door's starting to close. But you can hear this thing's really getting it all out of there. I don't know if you guys noticed this. Check this out. This is the old corner shelf from the Terry camper that we got rid of. The filter that Heidi gave me, it's slightly longer than what the original is. Not a big deal. I've got room. All right, let's go back to the oil extractor and make sure everything's out of here. Looks like we got a little bit built up again. As you don't hear it missing, there we go. We'll go ahead and just leave that up for the time being. All right, now on these twin cylinder engines, again, this sounds like my other channel. I don't know, you might have a generator though. You might have something that has a Vanguard. You might have a mower yourself. I have no clue. I'm just including it for content. 10W30, nothing special. You can run synthetic. It really don't make a difference on these engines. I mean, they're particular on some things. Oil's not one of them necessarily, unless you're running generators for a really long time in very hot environments. So in this case, we're talking 10W30, and you're going to be about 1 3/4 quarts. With the oil filter, it may vary, and that's on a twin. Now, if you're doing this on a push mower, you're only like 3/4 quart. You know, it's not very much, but yeah, this is pretty standard stuff for you guys that have been doing this for any period of time. Now, I have to say, when you're filling these with oil, be cautious. Be very cautious of the amount of oil that you put in as far as going over. Now, if you have a car, it says please do not overfill. If you have a transmission, it says please do not overfill. You can get away with a little bit on both of those. Not very much though, but still, you can get away with a little bit. On these, since they take so little oil and the engine's so small and the way they operate, the seals aren't that sophisticated on them. So if you go over on this by, let's say, 1/2 quart, don't seem like very much. I mean, you're just talking, you know, that much. Yeah, you're going to push those seals out. They're going to leak. I mean, there are going to be some problems there. Hopefully, if you do that and it does leak, it'll correct itself in a short amount of time, meaning that, you know, you pull out the oil and get it back to the level that you want, and hopefully the seal didn't get damaged. It just passed, you know, went past it. Stuff out of the way. Somewhere important. And let's see if this thing will start. I don't have a safety switch, so it will crank a long time. This choke has never been right ever since I got it. I need new choke cables. I don't plan on spending $70 though for something that just cranks a little bit longer. So hopefully the battery's in good shape to do that. So it started up. Go figure that out. Go mower, go. This is a good mower. I got a really good deal on it. As soon as I seen it used locally, I ran right over and wheeled and dealed with the guy, and he knocked on $100, and I said, I'm out of here. You know, I'm buying it. Loaded up and I was gone. So we'll give that a few minutes. I'll check the oil when I come back. In the meantime, let me clean up and get this thing out and air up all the tires. I had to go in and switch batteries. Talk too much. The other thing I got to do is clean up all the sticks in the yard. You guys know the deal. I put the snow shovel away and all of a sudden we get snow. I've talked about that in the past. I'm actually putting both snow shovels away. What do you think about that? I know there's a lot of you that live in other states. Matter of fact, I just posted a picture. I don't know who I commented on. Someone in California said that, you know, I was talking about mowing beginning, and they said that never stops here in California. Maybe the snow thing's not a bad idea. Well, yeah, whatever. Let me tell you, here's the other side of that. You know, do you have 2 riding mowers? I do, and the reason is because I got to change the plow out all the time. It's a pain in the butt to go from mowing to plowing. Hell, you could potentially plow in Ohio and then have to mow shortly after. So, yeah, it's something that I don't wish upon you, my friend. That's for sure. But the fact that I just put away the snow shovels. You know, you're thinking this is April when I'm shooting this. I don't know when you guys are seeing this. This is like April 3rd that I'm shooting this. We had snow, although it did not accumulate. It was very short-lived. I have a video that's posted. We had snow on May 15th. So I'll give you an idea of what could happen here. Yeah, I got all those sticks in there burning. That'll be nice. Told Heidi maybe we should have a little campfire. When the wind's this strong, I'd like to burn just because it'll make sure that it gets burned down. That wood that we have is pretty crappy. Those big logs, I don't know. I remember my father-in-law, Heidi's dad, who passed away, used to talk about firewood being junky, and he said, yeah, he says, I've had firewood that way. He says it takes 3 good logs to burn one of the junky logs. It's true. All that wood that's in there probably won't even get that wood burned all the way. All right, let me go see if those batteries are charged on that new camera, and we'll go from there. One more thing. I went ahead and swept out the shed because I had a bunch of mouse droppings in there. And there's 2 things I want to say about that in this time of virus protection. I did a video when we had our old Terry camper that I had cleaned out a bunch of mice urine and feces, and I don't remember what the disease is called, but breathing in the fumes or the debris or the dust that comes off of mouse droppings, rat droppings, but mainly mice droppings. They're usually a little bit more dry, I believe. You could ingest and contract a virus that is very rare in humans. Humans hardly get it. It's just one of those things that humans don't normally get. But the thing is, when you do get it, like 80% of the people die from it. So be careful whenever you're doing your spring cleaning. The other thing, staying on that whole mouse trip, is something that a lot of people don't know about, and unfortunately I had to teach them when I was at Sears, when I would come out to their house and they had their brand new mower they were getting out in the spring that they mowed with the previous year, or it just had been stored in their shed all winter long. They fire it up and the engine blows up. So they call Sears, and I come out and tell them, nope, that's not covered under warranty. And you should see their faces. And that is, mice love to build their nest up in here, in these blower housings, and in air cleaners. The air cleaner's not a big deal. It'll just make your engine run rough. But if it's in the blower housing, I don't know if you guys know how this operates, but this is an intake for a fan. This is a fan that runs when the engine runs. And that fan blows air that it's drawing out of here. That's why this suction thing's here. That's why there's a fresh air intake on this thing. This whole area here is all open to make sure that it brings in fresh air. And it's sealed off too, to make sure it's bringing in nice cool air. So it's bringing in air from the front and the back, not directly over the engine. And it's pushing that air through the fan over top of all the cooling fins, and that's why this housing is here, to allow the air-cooled engine to stay cooled. Oil is one way of lubricating and keeping the engine cool, but the air is the main way that it keeps the engine cooled. If you have mice nest, you know, where they've built up in here and they've blocked those cooling fins, your engine's not going to get the cooling it needs, and it's going to lock it up. It's going to get too hot. It's going to seize on the piston, and that's it. The piston's going to get seized up in the cylinder, and it's going to bust the connecting rod, and that's not covered under any kind of warranty. What you can look for is when you get your mower out at the beginning of the season, look for signs. What I always say is, it looks like a a bad haircut that somebody put a hat over, and it's got all this stuff sticking out of it, you know, straw and grass. Now, if you're in dusty environments, you know, to where you're mowing a lot of grass that's really dry and dusty, you might have a situation where it kind of builds up anyways. But the only thing you can do is take off this top cover, you know, take off these screws here, pull this vent cover off that covers the fan blades up, and then pull off the cover itself and clean it out with an air gun, with a brush, however you want to do it. But look for that. Definitely look for that. I swear I'm making this for my other channel, not RV Daydream. Hopefully I've cut this up. All right, let me get back to that camera. I need to look to see if that's done so I can mow and get you some footage you can look at here. See what I mean? Go ahead, tell me why he's engine braking, guys. Tell me why. Tell me why he just engine braked. Tell me why he had to engine brake. Tell me why it had to happen. Because he wanted to. He's an idiot. Okay, so this is going to look really weird. And I don't even know what to think about it, but this is what it normally looks like for you guys on the porch whenever I'm starting my update. However, or video, or just blathering like I am now. But this is what it's going to start looking like occasionally. Not all the time. I'm still going to go with this camera mainly. But let me turn this thing off, and we're going to go to the audio of the other one. The audio is going to be much poorer than this one is because I have a wind buffer and stuff like that on there. But I think the picture is going to be interesting. Now, I can do wireless microphones and stuff like that, or you know, external audio to make it work. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of what you can get. Now, you're going to get a lot of wind noise because it's very windy out there. You can see it, though. So, the funny part is I don't have to point this at anything. I just have to have it in my hand and just shoot video with it. Again, the wind is so crazy, though. I hate it. Here comes some more engine braking. And I can do two different things. I can set up the camera so that you guys are looking at whatever you want to look at. You can look at behind me. You can spin it around, or I'm going to do it this way, and then I can do it however I want to. And basically, what that means is I can make it show you behind me in the garage here, maybe down at the tractor. You know, it's such a wide angle, I could do, you know, quite a bit. Or I could put you out in the yard, you know, face you out towards the road and let you hear these loud trucks coming down the hill. I don't have much problem with those people making noise because they are putting stuff on the farmers' ground for them in their fields. But yeah, isn't this kind of cool? What do you guys think? Something we should do more of? You know, I was thinking about mowing the lawn with this, but I don't really have a way to mount it necessarily unless I tape it on the back of the mower here on the seat. I could do that, but then that will happen. I could put it on the back of the seat and hope that I don't go underneath anything, and you could watch me mow. That would be kind of fun, huh? Well, anyways, I just wanted to show you guys this thing, and what do you think? So what do you guys think about that? Weird, huh? Weird look. So again, maybe this will be our action cam for some of the time. I need a bigger memory card. The battery life is fair. You know how I like to talk. I'm kind of contemplating here if I should. I'm still thinking maybe I will get out this mower because it hasn't started at all, other than me starting it randomly throughout the winter to make sure that everything stayed lubricated. But I was thinking about getting this out and taking out this big, huge roller. I don't know how well this lighting is. We'll learn with this camera. But this huge roller that's back here, that thing is pretty brutal. It's made of some pretty thick steel. It's not quarter. I think it's bigger than quarter inch as far as the roll, and then it's got welded ends on it with the bearings, and everything for it to be connected, or the spindles to be connected to that frame. But it's filled with motor oil. Now, some motor oil's leaked out over the years, but because there is a small crack in the seam, I got to keep it rolled. That's kind of why I'm not wanting to get it out, because when I put it back, I have to put it back with a certain area of the roller up. But I could roll the lawn. It's really, really wet out there. There's a lot of molehills, and that would definitely help flatten the lawn, but it seems like a lot of work. I think I'm going to go in. It'll rain another day. It'll give me a chance to roll it another day. Heidi is closing the store, though, today, but I want to get some video up for you guys, so we'll have to see how this works out. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get out the roller. The funny part is that mower hasn't seen the light of day for a while. Well, I'll tell you when. How many of you guys remember? Just put it down in the comments if you know what happened over here. That's what I'm going to say. How many of you guys remember what happened over here that required me to get out my mower? That plow tractor and the roller. That's your only hint. Go ahead, put it in the comments. We'll see how many people know. Also, it was over in this area too. That's it. You guys should get it from there. I wonder if I can get out with the other mower in there. It's going to be really tight with the plow on there. Yeah, and getting the wheel back in. Okay, well, I'll take this big mower out again. And, or big mower, it's just a little bit bigger. It's not as heavy. That one's very heavy. It's got those wheel weights on there and everything. But I need to roll the lawn. There's so many, there's these mole tunnels or vole tunnels or whatever they are. They're everywhere. When you walk through the yard, you almost twist your ankle if you don't pay attention. So that'll help. So this one here is going to be a little bit more questionable as far as starting. So we'll have to see if I can get out starting fluid. Ooh, the choke is even, it's kind of stiff. Woo! It's been a while, and it's got a fuel pump on it, and it has a tendency to dry out after a while. We'll see. We'll give it a few minutes for the fuel to get up top. The one thing I want to talk about while we're waiting for that pressure that I just built up to actually get to the carburetor, these things are so cheap at Harbor Freight. I'm going to put a link in the description where you can get them on Amazon just as cheap. And they're maintainers. They're not chargers. If you've got a good battery, it doesn't have any problems starting. It doesn't have any problems keeping a charge. Nothing like that. Over the winter, if you want to maintain that charge, put this on and plug it in. It uses hardly any electricity, and it does a very good job. I've never had a problem with that. I'll tell you what I do have a problem with is when I don't do it. Now, these batteries, if you guys don't know, 3 years. That's all lawn and garden batteries good for is 3 years. If you get more out of it and you've got this big story of I had the same battery for the last 7 years, well, thank God, because that's awesome. That's not the way it's supposed to be. 3 years, and usually these batteries are kaput at that point. All right, we're there. It's going to start. This mower is really stinky. It runs really rich. It always has. So you can see I just have a trailer ball. And that's all this is. That's how it hooks in there. So I'm going to hook this to the back of the mower. Well, tractor in this case. There's the mower. And go out here and roll the lawn. Alright, so the tractor is back in its little cubby. Who knows for how long? I'll probably put the battery maintainer on it, but I'll wait a few days until I do. Man, do I stink like this mower. That's one of the things I hated about this mower was it does run rich. It's about $80 for a new carburetor, but you know, it runs. It does everything it's supposed to, and it's been doing that for years, and I do mean years. It's been running rich for about 11 years. Should I fix it? No, it's doing a good job. The thing about these old tractors, you know, stuff like this, it's hard to wrap your head around things. You know, Heidi's grandfather ordered this from Sears when it was brand new. And it's only left the property 2 times. Once her grandfather took it somewhere, and once I took it to my brother-in-law's to help with this blade to push dirt back in a hole. He dug a trench from his house to the road. It was up in Alliance, and he said, man, it's going to take me forever to fill all this dirt. And I said, you know what, I'm going to get my tractor, I'm going to bring it up here, and we'll push it in. It'll take no time at all. Other than that, this tractor hasn't left this property since it was delivered here by Sears and Roebuck in 1975. That's right, when it was still Sears and Roebuck. So it's kind of, you know, I find some of that stuff really fascinating. I think this video has gone on way too long, as you guys have already fast forwarded to this point. So, yeah, we hope to see you out there. Bye.